Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Real Estate Roundup. I'm Emmanuel Romanis. As always, if you want to contact the show, simply send us an email at realestateroundup@outlook.com. Again, that's realestateroundup@outlook.com. Once again, we have a wonderful show for you today. We're going to talk about the rental market in Pittsburgh and compare it nationally as well. As you know, my wife and I are realtors for Berkshire Hathaway, and I primarily deal in the sales market, people that want to buy and sell real estate, mainly their homes. I also do commercial work as well. You may be familiar with a popular commercial that's running right now on television from Realtor.com, and their tagline is Dream home, find home, own home. That's my world. That's my domain. Maybe I'll handle a rental client once or twice during the year. But joining me a little bit later on in the program are two of my colleagues from Berkshire Hathaway Property Management and Rental Division, and they are the experts in the rental market. So we're going to talk about that and focus on the rental market today, and that's why I brought them here. Just to give you a little bit of background and a little bit of numbers, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, renter-occupied households from 2000 to 2015 has increased, not only in Allegheny County, but across the nation as well. And to give you some statistics, in Allegheny County, the number has jumped from 33% in 2000 to 36.4% in 2015. And that mirrors also what's happening nationwide. Those numbers have jumped nationwide from 33.8% to 37%. Now, again, the rental market is not as large as the ownership market, but it is rising. A lot of that had to do, and we'll get into some of the specifics about that later on, but a lot of that had to do with the housing bubble burst back in 2008. A lot of people lost their homes, as you're well aware. A lot of mortgages foreclosed. A lot of people just went underwater and they couldn't get a mortgage again, so they were almost forced into the rental market. That's some of the cause for the increase, certainly not all, but that had a little bit to do with it. In any event, we're going to get into that in a little bit, but before that, the month of February, as you know, Valentine's Day, love is in the air, and that brings us to our Who Knew section, and we're going to talk a little bit about the love that's in the air. So, I'm sure you're all familiar with the saying, I love you to the moon and back. Well, what if you could actually give your Valentine a piece of the moon? Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Hi Bethel Park, remember me? My name is Jason Planitzer. I was the host of a little show here. You may have seen it. It was called The Jason Planitzer Show.
What would you say your experience at BPTV, how has that had an impact on your life?
I found my voice. I learned how to be funny. I learned how to create things. I learned how to collaborate with people here. I developed an interest in film and comedy and making videos. It stuck with me. It continued through my life. I got into working on motion pictures. I now I'll produce small videos. I'll work with producers on commercials, television projects, feature films. I scout locations on TV shows and movies, which involves me reading scripts, finding the locations that need to be shot, and collaborating with the director and production designer to find the perfect spot. It all started at BPTV for me.
Okay, welcome back. Well, as I told you, Valentine's Day, love is in the air, and I posed the question, what if you could actually give your Valentine a piece of the moon? Well, apparently you can. The 1967 UN Outer Space Treaty states that no sovereign nation can own the moon or lay claim to any part of it, but technically doesn't say anything about private ownership. As you can imagine, there are companies and websites out there that have jumped on this loophole. Websites like Lunar Registry, Moon Estates, and Lunar Land, and they are selling pieces of the moon. Now, realistically, what you're doing is you're paying $25 for a piece of paper that says you own the piece of the moon. Is it enforceable in court? No, but it's a novel idea. It's a unique gift to give your loved one if you don't have anything else to give them, or if you just want to waste $25. So who knew? Okay, with that, we're going to turn to our guests, which I'm sure everybody's been waiting for. I know I have. Joining me today are my colleagues, again from the Berkshire Hathaway Property Management and Rental Division, are Helene Prince and Susan Reese Hartzell. Ladies, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the program, you two are the experts in the rental market. So, Helene, let's start with very general differences between the characteristics of a person looking to rent as opposed to a home buyer, somebody that wants to own a home.
Well, I think that if someone is moving into town and they're not familiar with Pittsburgh, they may want to rent until they learn what our city is about, what areas they may want to live in. I think a tenant today doesn't want the responsibilities of caring for a home in terms of replacing the furnace, replacing the water heater, paying real estate taxes. Mm-hmm. They want to be able to move in, pay the utilities, and pay their rent.
Now that appears to be even more prevalent in the city of Pittsburgh because the real estate taxes in the city proper seem to be higher than surrounding areas.
That's right, and people who want to live in the city can get amenities in a rental that they may not be able to afford in a home.
Okay. Now, as far as I know, a lot of times, for the couple rental clients that I deal with that come across my desk, typically it's because they either don't have enough for a down payment or they can't get a mortgage. Do you run into that as well, or are the people that you primarily work with, they just want to rent, period, they have no real interest in home ownership at this point?
Well, I think that some people don't realize they have buying power. Some people aren't ready to buy, and then we do run into clients who can't buy yet. And I just had a client last week who was looking at a $4,500 rental in Cranberry. They were not able to buy yet. They'll be able to buy in 6 months, so they were going to rent to own.
Okay. Expand on that a little bit, because we hear that fairly often, rent to own. Now, when I hear that, I immediately think of a land contract. But it's obviously more than a land contract. What are some of the specifics of someone who's looking to rent to own? How does that work?
Well, in this situation, the clients had already gone to their bank, and they're selling a home in another country.
Okay.
That home has a contract on it. They're going to close on that home shortly, but they need to build their credit in the United States. So they need a minimum of 6 months to build their credit.
Okay.
Their company is paying their rent now, and in this case, they wanted to rent, and then they have first right of refusal to buy.
Okay.
So we didn't build any of the money in going towards a sale.
Got it. Okay. So it gives them an out if they want.
That's right. And it gives the owner an out if they decide they want to do something else.
So both ends have that advantage.
That's
if they
right.
want to take advantage of it.
Yeah, but we have had quite a few tenants that have purchased the homes that they're in.
Okay. Good
Absolutely.
deal.
This summer we had 4 or 5.
Nice. Now, Susan, let me jump over to you. I know a big part of what you and Helene do in your team is property management as well. Can you give us a little bit of background? What exactly is property management? What does that entail? And what do you do in that realm?
First, I'd just like to address on the rent-to-own,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
Sure.
In this market, we actually prefer to see someone go into a lease, and then, as Helene said, in this case, they had the option to be able to purchase in the future,
Okay.
or first right of refusal.
Right.
But the banks really don't like to see the rent-to-own in a lease contract, or they like to see them separate. So we would go into a lease normally and then go into a sales contract.
Is it just a matter of it's just cleaner administrative-wise for the bank, or are there other areas that jams them up where they don't like it?
The banks like to see the buyer have their own money.
Okay.
They prefer
Okay.
to see that.
So it's a matter of reducing the risk for the bank, primarily is what
Correct.
they're talking about?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. As far as property management, can you? Cause that's one area where I'm very ignorant. I don't know a whole lot about how property management works or even what it entails. So can you give us some background on that?
Okay, well, basically, we allow an owner to sign a contract with us to be able to manage their property on a monthly basis. And we provide a number of services. I'm going to let Helene talk to you a little bit more about what services we provide.
Now, before I jump back to Helene, is that primarily multi-unit buildings where property management comes into account, or is it also with single-family homes?
We have both single-family homes and multi-units
Got
that
it.
we manage.
Okay. Helene, give us the lowdown on how property management works.
Well, if we're managing your property and we've already procured a tenant,
Okay.
we then do, as a part of property management, a thorough walkthrough. We take photographs, and it's a written report detailing the condition of the property
Prior to them moving in.
at move-in.
At move-in.
At
Okay.
move-in with the tenant, the day of possession.
Okay.
And at that time, we get a copy of the tenant's insurance, liability and personal property, and make sure that all of the utilities have been put into their name.
Okay.
And then we take the inquiries, repair calls 24/7. We have an emergency line. We hire all of the vendors
Okay.
to make repairs for the owner. We may have an owner that wants an estimate. We may have an owner that doesn't. We manage properties for people all over the world.
Okay.
And not everyone is available to say, make that repair. But we write into our contract what works for the owner.
Okay.
And then we get estimates for the repair, if that's possible. It may be
Right.
an emergency and we don't have time to do that.
Right.
And then we proceed with the repair. We pay for that repair out of the owner's account, which
Okay.
is proceeds from the rents, or the homeowner can also get a home warranty.
Right. Okay. Oh, that would work on run. Yeah,
It's
because
just-
they own the property, so that would work as well.
It's the exact home warranty that we use in sales.
Okay. So in essence, if I owned a 4-unit building, and I didn't want the aggravation of the day-to-day management, collecting the rents, getting that 3 a.m. phone call, hey, my pipe burst, I got water all over the place, I can hire your company as the property manager, pay you whatever it is, and then you handle all that for me.
Correct.
Is that correct? Is that
That's
primarily
correct.
what property management
Yes.
is?
Yes, we make sure that we send a letter once a year to have your gutters cleaned.
Okay.
And your furnace serviced, if you want your air conditioner serviced. So we're maintaining the home.
Okay.
We're making sure that the exterior is in good condition, that your snow has been removed by the tenant, if that's the arrangement.
Okay. So you handle all the day-to-day stuff.
Yes, and we handle renewals.
Okay.
And
Got it.
financials.
And all of the
financials as
financials.
well. So as the property owner, you would prepare an end of the year statement and just send it to me of everything that's going on with the property?
Yeah, it makes the accounting much easier for you
Oh,
to do
yeah,
your
that's-
taxes.
that's
But on a monthly
fantastic.
basis, we'll send you a statement. There's 2 pages, 2 parts
Okay.
to it.
So you keep the homeowner in the loop on
Mm-hmm.
a monthly basis of what's going on, and obviously, I guess, anything out of the ordinary, the homeowner gets a call from you, or the property owner gets a call, so they're not completely in the dark of what's going on.
Yeah, we auto deposit the proceeds of rental into the owner's accounts on the 7th business day of every
Okay.
month.
Oh, that's fantastic.
With a
That's
statement.
excellent.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
Well, we also handle occupancy permits and tenant registrations, which are critical. Many people don't know that they may or may not be required in their borough. And they place a tenant, and there is a very large fine. In some of the boroughs, it's $500 a day per repair.
Oh, wow.
So, and many of the boroughs are adopting an occupancy permit inspection and or a registration.
And you handle all of that?
We handle all of that, and there's a fee involved with that also that
Right.
the owner pays.
Okay. Now, I know you work on with commercial property as well as residential. As far as the function of the property manager, is it primarily the same in the commercial world as it is in the residential world? Does it work the same way?
I'll let Sue speak to that.
Yeah, it's very similar. I think with commercial, there's a little less emotion. You know, people don't get quite
Sure.
tied up about things, but there are specific things that we do differently in commercial where, you know, the interior measurements are usually what people are concerned about with residential.
Okay.
With commercial, you measure exterior measurements.
Oh, okay.
So that's one thing. And then also usually you have triple net, or you might have taxes, insurance, and maintenance that will be added on
Okay.
to a commercial property, whereas with residential you just have usually utilities
Right.
and sometimes maintenance costs
Okay.
that they'll include.
Now, as far as the I don't know what the proper term is, the contract between the property owner and the property management company. Is that usually a one-year term, or is that negotiated? I would imagine it could be longer in commercial property than in residential, or not necessarily the case?
Well, in commercial it can continue as long as the property has the lease on it.
Okay.
Will stay as management company. On the residential, usually it's year to year, but continues also as long as
Okay.
the tenants in
Okay.
the property, or until someone decides to cancel.
We talked a little bit early on that the rental market has been growing over the last 15 years. What are some of the hot spots right now in the Pittsburgh area, and even the surrounding area of Pittsburgh property, as far as rental is concerned?
Well, we're seeing great growth in Shadyside.
Okay.
Many new buildings in the East End, I should say, East Side, Shadyside, the Strip District.
New construction, refurbish, or a little bit of both?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Both. In Lawrenceville, they're building a new building. I believe it's 300 plus units.
Okay.
And I have an owner that just came in from San Francisco, heard about the Pittsburgh market, and bought a little townhome, and we're remodeling it for him.
Oh, nice.
To rent and manage. And he sent friends here
Excellent.
to purchase. So it's a mixture of both.
Okay. What about, are there any real hot areas right now surrounding Pittsburgh in the suburbs, or even maybe in Washington or Butler County, Beaver County? Is there anything you're seeing there?
Well, the north is strong,
Okay.
the Wexford, Cranberry area. The south is very popular, but there isn't a lot of new construction.
I've noticed that, yeah.
Right, the south is extremely popular. Single-family dwellings,
Yeah.
Apartments are very popular here, and Washington County
Okay.
is strong.
Have you noticed, and I know we're going back a little bit in years, when there was a big set or a big increase with the gas drilling, and we had all the influx of people coming in. Did you notice an influx of renters at that time?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And
that was mainly Washington County as well.
yes, and we lost some of those people, not all. I still have tenants who have been placed since that time in Washington County
Okay.
who retained their employment here. And they may be working somewhere in another state or in another city, but they're traveling back and forth.
Okay.
But yes, we did. There was a definite change when.
So I guess it follows that people follow the market. When there's an influx of jobs, people are going to come in, probably going to rent because they don't know how long the job is going to last. And then conversely, as they leave the area, as the jobs leave the area, the people are going to go as well. So, okay, and that bears out what you've seen actually on the ground as well, right?
Yes, and
For
I
the
think
most part.
with Google
Right.
and UPMC, we
Right.
see the same thing. But then if people are here for some time, they may decide to buy. And we just had that with someone from Google who came, he rented, saw a neighborhood that he liked, and he
Decided to stay.
he bought a home. Yeah.
Now how is the Pittsburgh market comparing? I know, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, it seems to be tracking with national trends. Are you seeing that as well? Is Pittsburgh seem to be tracking with the national trend? And the reason I ask that question, I know on the home ownership side, Pittsburgh is a lot more steady than some of the other areas where they see the booms and the busts. The housing market in Pittsburgh, from the ownership standpoint, stays fairly steady. Do you see that as well on the rental end, or does it follow more to the trends of national?
Well, I just read a report yesterday. Out of 100 cities, we ranked 22 for in the rental price. So they ranked us at $1,200 and some dollars for a one-bedroom.
Now, 22, when you say the ranking, is that in terms of value or?
Price per rental.
Okay.
Per one bedroom.
Okay.
So where San Francisco or New York may be $3,000, we were at $1,200,
Gotcha.
ranked at 22
Okay.
for the price of a rental. And in the past year, though, we're seeing a change in our market because there are so many new buildings being built, especially in the city,
Okay.
in the North Hills.
Okay.
There are new developments. So what is changing is that price, that median price, is coming down a little. We are negotiating more on rentals every day,
Okay.
and we're negotiating terms.
Oh, okay.
So we just negotiated a home in Squirrel Hill where we reduced the rent, but we also said, in this case, you'll have to sign a 2-year lease.
So there is a lot of flexibility there.
Yes.
Okay. Have you noticed at all with regard to new construction? And I'm going to break this out both on the residential side and the commercial side because it may be different. I'm not sure. But do renters seem to flock more to new construction or less, or is it kind of a mixed bag, or is there any significance there?
Sue, do you want to speak to commercial?
Yeah, I would say in commercial, it's really the tenant's needs.
Okay.
Yeah, there is no
So
preference.
there's no gold star if it's a brand new building. It's just accommodate our needs, and if the price
and
is right, we
price,
go.
right, correct. So if it makes sense to them financially, then they're going to go with a newer building. If it doesn't, if that's the location, the price, and
Okay.
everything fits, then they're going to probably go for it. But if not, they're going to stay in the existing market.
Okay. And I guess that would probably be more, well, no, maybe not. I was going to say maybe more prevalent on the commercial end, but I guess not. Residential really doesn't matter if it's refurbished or new, or does it?
It's based on amenities and budget, I
Okay.
believe. And I believe that the person that's going to go to a single-family dwelling does not want to be in the rental community. But the amenities of the rental communities are unbelievable.
Okay.
I toured a few buildings this weekend, and they were outstanding.
Is that right?
State-of-the-art gyms, lobbies that are living rooms for your guests, theaters, a dog area where you can clean and groom your dog.
Oh, that is awesome.
Swimming pools. It was a wonderful experience to go through these buildings with a client. On the other hand, I have clients who would much rather be in a single-family dwelling or in a townhome where they don't have to necessarily get into an elevator and see other people
Right.
and have that experience.
Now, let me jump on something that you said because it brings up a very interesting point. Are you noticing dog lovers, cat lovers, pet lovers? They seem to be expanding exponentially. Are you noticing in rental units, is that becoming more prevalent that they're allowing pets?
That is the norm in the new buildings.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
That's right. They are accommodating the pet lovers, and I believe we have to if we want to be a landlord that doesn't have vacancies.
It would certainly make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where the trend is going, so it makes sense to
Right.
follow that. And I would assume the vast majority, if not all the buildings that you work with are non-smoking.
Absolutely. We have non-smoking addendums in all of our leases.
Oh, okay.
Now, if an owner tells us at listing that they don't mind, that's not a problem. We have them sign a document saying that that's okay
Okay.
to have a smoker live in the dwelling.
Gotcha. Let me pivot a little bit as far as training, designations. You are the expert in the rental market. As a realtor, there are certain designations that we have on the owner's side. Various things. I assume on the renter's side there are special designations and trainings that you have to go through as well, correct?
That is correct. I am an associate broker,
Okay.
and I am a member of IREM, the Institute of Real Estate Management.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry about that. And I have the ARM designation, which is Accredited Residential Manager, which is recognized internationally.
Nice.
And I've been trained to manage single-family dwellings to huge rental communities.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, this has been fascinating. Like I said, a lot of this is new to me. Even though I'm in the business, I don't handle rentals a lot. So this was very fascinating to me. Hopefully it is to our audience as well. Before we sign off, is there anything, I'll start with you, Helene, anything you'd like to bring up or talk about that you think is relevant that we haven't touched on?
Sue,
Either one of you.
Well,
anything you can think of?
disparaging or
Oh, that's
That might be-
yes. I will touch on that. Also, they are the apartment association is currently in court with the city
Okay.
because of their rental registration. The apartment association is fighting that.
I read something about that. Can you expand
Yes.
on that a little bit, what that is?
Well, the city wanted to do a rental registration. At one time, they wanted to do the occupancy permit inspections.
Okay.
And that didn't work out. Now they want to do rental registration.
Now, what exactly does that mean?
You would register your tenant,
Okay.
and perhaps you'll give their social security number, maybe not, but definitely their name, their address. With some boroughs, you have to tell the borough where they work.
Okay.
They'd like a telephone number. It's mainly for tax purposes.
Okay.
So in the case of the city, the apartment association found that would be a burden to many landlords, and
I
they
can
are
see
in
why.
fact
Sure.
fighting that.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
that's in court now.
that would be a big burden. Susan, anything on your end that you'd like to add?
no, as far as commercial, like I said, it's pretty much the financial part of the business, and
The numbers either work or they don't.
they either work or they don't work, and location.
It's not a matter of, oh man, I really like those drapes. It's
Yeah.
like, here's the square footage, the numbers work, they don't work, let's move on.
Yep, exactly.
There's a lot to be said for that. All right, well, I want to thank both of you for being here. I find it fascinating. I hope you enjoyed yourself. And I hope you enjoyed yourself as well. As always, thank you for watching. Take care.